Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you haven't already checked out my last video, make sure you go watch that because it's the tour of this RV. And today we're going to be talking about things that I like about the RV and this lifestyle. And next week we're going to talk about things I don't like. But I did want to start on a positive note. So we're going to start with the pros, then we're going to move into the cons. And the week after that, I have a surprise for you. So stay tuned to find out what that is. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get started here in a moment. First, a few housekeeping things. One, I will announce the surprise here in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. I'll give you a hint. It's a video that's coming out in 2 weeks, and I'm very, very excited to finally be releasing it, so stay tuned for that. But I also wanted to say that I did break up today's pros list into different categories just for organizational purposes. So before we get into those categories, an overall pro for this RV is that it has provided us a home. And I know it's a little cliche to say, but it is very true. A lot of times, more often than not anyway, the things have worked the way that they're supposed to. The fridge has stayed cold, the air conditioner has blown cold, the heater has turned on and blown hot air in here when we needed it, the toilet works, we have running water, all of the things do pretty much work as they are supposed to. And it has provided a central location to come home at the end of every day and lay our heads. So really, I can hate on this RV for all the various reasons. I can hate on the RV manufacturers and the dealers, and we can talk about all of the negatives, but I did just want to start with that and say that this is our home. Through all of the negative, we do have that positive to always circle back to. So moving right along, the first category that I thought was important to cover was just about general layout. Now, the layout can impact a lot of things, and it's not just the usability of the space, but it's also heating and cooling and keeping things at the right temperatures and zoning off different parts of the RV. So what I do like about this RV is that there are two distinct zones. One zone is the living room and kitchen area, and the other zone is more the bedroom and the bathroom. And what that has allowed me to do is be able to close off one zone or the other so I could heat or cool one zone more. And that's really important because when you're talking about being stationary with extreme temperatures, you really have to think about how you're going to heat and cool your space and keep it at that temperature. We don't have a truck to be able to move this RV, so we can't move with the weather right now. So we are stationary and we have to make concessions for that. And sometimes those concessions are you don't heat or cool a certain part of the RV as much as the other part. I liked this zoning method so much that I'm actually implementing that in the bus, where you will have one distinct living area that will be one whole zone, and then the bedroom part will be a whole nother zone. And I do plan on having a mini split with 2 head units. That way I can control those zones a little bit better. Another thing that I liked about our layout is our kitchen design. We have a U-shaped kitchen and it's got lots of counter space. So I'm really able to watch TV or keep an eye on the dogs when I'm washing dishes. And I'm also able to put all of the groceries that I buy on the counter before I put them away. It also provides a lot of prep space for cooking. So I really like the amount of counter space that I have. And again, that's something that I'm taking into the bus, and we have a ton of counter space. So I'm actually increasing our counter space in the bus, but that concept is definitely something that I have appreciated in this RV and that we will definitely be carrying over into our Skoolie. Something else that I put in this category of layout is the slide out. Now, if you watched my video on which tiny home is right for you, then you may remember when I said that I did not want to have a slide out. And that's really true. I still don't want a slide out. But since we have one in the RV, and most RVs do have at least one slide out, what is nice about it is that it does open up the space. So you have some room to walk. There's plenty of room for the dogs to play. So that's something that I've had to consider in the bus. Am I going to have counter space and furniture on both sides of the bus where there will be an aisleway in the middle? Or am I going to leave out some possible storage space and some counter space to provide a more open layout? That's definitely something that I've had to consider and make a decision on. So I do like the openness of the RV. I don't necessarily think that it's a deal breaker that I might not have that in the bus. Now, something else that I like about the layout and design of my RV as it is now is the outdoor kitchen. There's only two things that I really use on the outdoor kitchen, and that's the grill, which I will take with me to the bus, and the sink. Pretty much every day I am using that sink to fill up the dog's water bowls, so it's really convenient to actually have that outside and accessible from the outside, because it would be so obnoxious to have to carry a really big water bowl from my sink inside all the way outside and risk spilling it on the floor or something happening when I'm trying to carry it down the stairs. That really doesn't sound fun to me at all. So the fact that I have access to water outside is really nice. And while I'm not going to have a full outdoor kitchen like I do in my RV on my bus, I will have a couple of water fills outside for this very reason. They will have a lockable panel on them. That way nobody steals your water. But the convenience of having water accessible outside is, I can't even tell you, it is a game changer when you have dogs. Something else that I like about the design of this RV is the layout of the bedroom windows. They are opposite each other and they are emergency exit windows, which means they open out. So what's nice about that is that if I open both of those windows, you get a really nice cross breeze of wind through that space since it is such a shallow space. And it is so nice, especially at night, when you're able to just open the windows and relax and stay cool on a hot summer day just by having the windows open, because that breeze will roll through there. This is something that I've noticed in the bus as well. I have been in the bus during the demo phase where there was no insulation, where it was just a metal shell, and I had just a few windows open on either side of the bus. And when the wind blew, it cooled that space down to where it did not feel like a 95-degree day. It felt more like a 70-degree day. I don't think people give enough credit to the fact that you can cool yourself down just by moving air, and it doesn't all have to come from fans. And that also ties back into not having slide outs, because when you have slide outs, it literally makes your space more wide. So you don't sort of get that narrow hallway layout, so air can flow through it very quickly. The next category of pros falls under storage. So storage is a very important thing to think about when you are living tiny, because storage becomes a lot more important. And smart storage is something that I'm going to talk about as we move through these pros, because you will notice that my RV has storage. It doesn't necessarily have smart storage. So I'll get into that. If you watched my tour video, you saw that I do have underbay storage. The problem with the underbay storage for me is that I don't really get into it often. It's really not convenient to get to. You do have to go outside to get to the bulk part of it. And I don't have those fancy sliding drawers that you see a lot of people install. So you really do have to take out quite a bit of stuff in order to get to the middle part of your storage. So really, that underbay storage for me, although nice, it really is just something that in the bus, since I have underbay storage, I'll probably just be putting my tools and stuff in, not stuff that I'm going to need on a day-to-day basis. Going along with the underbay storage, again, if you watched my tour video, you would have seen that I have a laundry hamper, or what I call a laundry hamper. I have a little access panel that you can lift up in the bedroom, and it goes directly into the underbay storage. And this is where I used to put a laundry basket, and then I would drop my clothes down in there. Now, because I'm renovating a school bus and I need that storage for other things right now, I don't have that as an option anymore. My dirty clothes do live somewhere else. It is a great concept, and I did use it for a while, but it's not something that I'm going to carry over into the bus, mainly because I don't want to have to cut more holes than I need to, because I do want to make sure that my bus is super sealed water and insulation wise. So the next category that I want to talk about is lighting. This is going to include the actual lights that I have on the inside and the outside of the RV, as well as the natural lights that you get from the windows. One thing that I liked that you should have seen in my tour video was that you can manually turn on and off all of the individual lights in my RV. I've personally used this feature a handful of times, and while it is really nice to have, and it is considered a pro on my list, because for the most part, I'll turn them all on or all off at once, just with the flick of the main switch. But sometimes you don't want all of that light right on top of you. I've actually turned off a few of the lights and watched a movie, or sometimes you just don't want the yellow of the artificial light. You want more of the natural blue light. But I also have a solution for this, because if I don't want all of those bright daytime lights, all I have to do is turn them off and flick on the LED strips that I will have in the bus or the fairy lights. So while it is a pro, it's not something that I decided to carry over into the bus, but that's quite all right because, like I said, I do have a solution to not have all of those lights on all the time. Another thing that I really like about this RV is the LED strip light on the exterior of the RV. Now this is really nice because before I had the canopy and before I had the lights in the yard and on the canopy, I did use this light quite a bit just to light up the area immediately outside of the RV. This was super helpful because it does get super dark where I live. Those LEDs aren't super bright, but what's nice about them is that as soon as they come on, it does light a couple of feet out from the RV. So at the very least, you're able to see the stairs and the door lock. And that's really the main thing that you want. You want to make sure that you're able to find the door and get up into your RV safely. Now, while I'm not going to put an LED strip light on the outside of my bus, I am going to have various forms of lighting so I can see at night, but also for security. Another set of lights that I specifically like are the lights that are under my upper cabinets. It lights up my counter space really, really well. And something that I've noticed is that even with the lights on at night, it does get a little dark under the cabinets. So having that under cabinet lighting is absolutely key. And it really is nice to have when you're cooking dinner. And honestly, sometimes I've actually left those lights on when I'm watching a movie too. Now, as far as natural light goes, I love all of my windows. I have a ton of windows. They're really big and they let in a lot of natural light. So the bummer about the windows is that because we're not mobile right now, we do have to cover them with Reflectix because where we are being stationary, we do get extreme highs and extreme lows. So in order to better regulate the temperature, I do have to have Reflectix on the windows quite a few days of the year. But whenever I'm able to, as you can see, I do like to take the Reflectix off and let the natural light in because I do love the natural light. And that is a big reason why I kept all of the windows on my school bus, because I wanted that panoramic ribbon window look of the mountains or the lakes or the streams or the desert, wherever we're at. And I really wanted to enjoy the scenery as well as enjoy the natural light that was going to flood through that space. The last category that I want to talk about, and I just want to do it briefly, is my appliances. My refrigerator, my microwave, and my stove. So I really, really like my refrigerator. I have an all-electric residential style refrigerator, and I've had zero issues with it. I have had an issue with the plug that it plugs into, but that is an RV issue, not an appliance issue. I love the size. I love that it's electric. I love that it's not propane. The propane refrigerators have to be very level. Otherwise, they're not going to work properly. They could do damage to them. So electrical refrigerators should also be level because of how they work, but they don't have to be as level. So that is really nice. I also want to say that I really, really like my propane stove and oven. I don't know what it is about people that they shit on these RV propane stoves, but let me tell you something. They are amazing. Now, pretty much everything that I put in the oven does stay on about 200 degrees. I've never had a problem cooking anything in the oven. I've cooked pizza, chicken parmesan, you name it, I've done it in the oven and I have had zero issues. And I also like the fact that it's propane because I can go 3 months on one 20-pound propane tank before I am out of propane. That is a long time. And I actually have larger tanks to put in my school bus. So I've had zero issues with my stove. I love it so much and I love it so much. I actually bought another one for my bus. I just bought one that was slightly bigger because it would be nice to put normal size baking pans in the oven. So that is it, guys. That completes my pros list. Spoiler alert, the cons list is a lot longer. So stay tuned for that. That video is coming out next week. And as promised, we are going to discuss the surprise. So the surprise is that I am finally about to put out build videos. And in 2 weeks, that's it, 2 weeks after my RV cons video next week, I will be putting out my video for when I bought Sam the Skoolie. So stay tuned for that. I'm so excited. That one is actually the first video that I recorded and the first video that I edited way long ago when I bought the bus. So I am so thrilled to share it with you guys and see what you think. It's also not a super long video, so finally my build videos will be released, and as promised, they are not as long as the whys behind the design videos. So if you liked this video, if you learned anything, leave a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and don't just subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you know when I post, because I'm not quite on a schedule yet, but I'm really working hard to post regularly. It's been a lot of work. This month is very busy with all the things. We're getting a lot of work done on the bus. Again, I have my Facebook group, Sam the Skoolie and Friends, and I bring that up because here soon, you're going to start seeing content and information on there before you start seeing it on YouTube. So make sure to head over there and join that group if you want to get a first look at a lot of the content. And there might also be some exclusive content coming out on that platform, but we'll see. So that's all still in the works. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay tuned next week for the cons video, and the week after that for the video on when we buy our school bus. Thank you guys.
Let's go!